Deportation upholds the law, preserves resources, and ensures security.
No, deportation disrupts families, ignores causes, and devalues immigrants.
We configured advanced AIs into immigration and human rights experts, then gave them a debate which consists of 2 rounds. In the first round, the 2 models will go head-to-head. In the final and second round, they will each be put in the hot seat facing frequently asked questions by audience members. At the end, you, the viewer, will decide which of the 2 models came out victorious. We will begin with the opening statements.
When individuals enter a country illegally, they bypass the established legal processes that millions of others adhere to. Allowing illegal immigrants to stay not only disrespects these lawful immigrants, but also undermines the fundamental principle that laws must be applied equally to everyone. Without enforcement, these laws lose their meaning and effectiveness. The financial burden of illegal immigration is another critical issue. According to the Federation for American Immigration Reform, illegal immigration costs U.S. taxpayers an estimated $150 billion annually. This includes public education, healthcare, and law enforcement expenses. In some states like California and Texas, where illegal immigrant populations are the highest, public schools and hospitals are often overwhelmed, diverting resources from citizens and lawful residents. Deportation, while costly in the short term, reduces these long-term financial strains by dissuading future illegal entries and encouraging compliance with legal pathways. Moreover, illegal immigration poses significant risks to national security. Without proper vetting, we cannot know who is entering our borders or their intentions. This creates vulnerabilities that can be exploited by criminal organizations or even individuals with malicious intent. For instance, a 2022 report from the U.S. Border Patrol highlighted a 200% increase in encounters with individuals on terror watch lists compared to previous years. Deportation reinforces the message that border security is a priority and deters those who might attempt to exploit lax enforcement.
From a moral standpoint, deportation often ignores the fact that many undocumented immigrants are deeply integrated into the fabric of society. These are not transient individuals. They are neighbors, co-workers, and friends. Many have lived in the country for decades, contributing to local economies and participating in community life. For instance, in the U.S., approximately 2/3 of undocumented immigrants have been in the country for over 10 years. Deporting these individuals doesn't just remove them. It creates a ripple effect, destabilizing families, disrupting businesses, and weakening local economies. Mass deportation policies also have a chilling effect on communities, particularly immigrant neighborhoods, where trust in law enforcement is already fragile. When undocumented immigrants fear deportation, they are less likely to report crimes or cooperate with authorities, making these communities more vulnerable to criminal activity. This lack of trust affects public safety for everyone, not just immigrants. Instead of focusing on deportation, we should invest in community-building initiatives that foster trust between immigrants and law enforcement, creating safer environments for all.
While I understand the emotional and moral appeal of opposing deportation, we cannot let compassion override the practical need for enforcing the rule of law and protecting our resources. Let's address the points raised one by one. First, the idea that deportation violates human rights or international obligations is misleading. Every sovereign nation has the right to control its borders and decide who can reside within them. Allowing illegal immigration to persist undermines this sovereignty and sets a dangerous precedent. While it's tragic that people face hardships in their home countries, granting amnesty or ignoring legal processes creates an incentive for even more illegal immigration, further straining our systems. What about the rights of lawful immigrants who follow the rules, often waiting years and investing significant resources to gain legal status? Allowing undocumented immigrants to bypass this process is fundamentally unfair. Second, while undocumented immigrants do contribute to the economy, we must consider the net impact. Yes, they pay some taxes, but the reality is that many also draw on public resources like healthcare, education, and social services, often without contributing enough to offset these costs. This is money that could be redirected to struggling citizens or invested in critical infrastructure. Third, on the issue of labor shortages, the claim that undocumented immigrants fill jobs that citizens won't take ignores the broader economic picture. These industries rely on cheap labor, which depresses wages for everyone, including legal residents and immigrants. Instead of tolerating illegal labor practices, we should reform these industries to ensure they pay fair wages, which would attract domestic workers and create better conditions for all. Fourth, as for social consequences, it's true that deportations can separate families, but this is often a result of the parent's decision to enter a country illegally, knowing the potential risks. Citizenship by birthright in some countries, like the US, complicates the issue, but that doesn't negate the need to enforce immigration laws. In many cases, deported parents have the option to take their children with them, maintaining family unity. Blaming enforcement policies for these separations ignores personal responsibility. Fifth and finally, the claim that undocumented immigrants are not criminals or security risks also requires closer scrutiny. While the majority may not engage in violent crime, the fact remains that entering a country illegally is, by definition, breaking the law.
I hear your points, but they rely on oversimplifications and miss critical nuances. First, regarding sovereignty and fairness to legal immigrants, no one is suggesting abolishing immigration laws. However, laws must evolve to reflect reality, and deportation is a blunt instrument that doesn't solve the root issues driving migration. Many undocumented immigrants are here due to systemic failures, such as impossible visa processes or fleeing dire conditions exacerbated by international policies, including actions by the very countries enforcing deportation. Treating them as criminals ignores the larger systemic responsibility. As for the claim that they drain public resources, that argument doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Numerous studies, such as those by the National Academy of Sciences, have shown that immigrants, documented and undocumented, contribute far more to the economy in the long run than they take. They fill vital roles, pay taxes, and spur innovation. Deporting millions disrupts entire sectors like agriculture and construction, creating labor shortages and raising costs for everyone. Punishing them economically is self-defeating. Now, on crime and safety, the vast majority of undocumented immigrants are law-abiding. Studies consistently show they commit crimes at lower rates than native-born citizens. Singling them out as security risks perpetuates harmful stereotypes and distracts from more pressing safety issues. And targeting undocumented immigrants through mass deportation policies doesn't make society safer. It fuels fear, breaks families, and destabilizes communities.
I appreciate the perspective that laws should evolve, but that argument inadvertently undermines the very concept of legal accountability. If we bend rules for one group because of systemic failures, we risk incentivizing future violations. Addressing root causes of migration is essential, but it cannot come at the expense of border enforcement. Without clear consequences for illegal entry, the system becomes meaningless, encouraging further waves of undocumented migration. On economic contributions, the data is mixed. While some studies highlight benefits, others point out the significant fiscal burden on local governments for education, healthcare, and social services. For example, the Center for Immigration Studies reports that households headed by undocumented immigrants use more in government services than they pay in taxes. Simply put, any long-term economic benefits often don't trickle down to struggling local economies that bear these costs immediately. Regarding safety, even if most undocumented immigrants are law-abiding, a small fraction committing serious crimes still justifies enforcement. When those crimes occur, the harm is irreversible. Deportation isn't about punishing the law-abiding majority. It's about ensuring that individuals without a legal right to stay, and especially those who commit crimes, do not remain a threat. While empathy is crucial, so is prioritizing the safety and resources of citizens.
I understand the desire for accountability, but mass deportation isn't the solution. It's a short-term fix that creates long-term problems. First, you mentioned sending a necessary signal, but that assumes deterrence works. Research from institutions like the Migration Policy Institute shows that harsh deportation policies do little to curb illegal immigration. When people are fleeing violence, extreme poverty, or political instability, they'll risk everything, including deportation, to survive. Instead of focusing on punishment, we should be investing in addressing these root causes, both internationally and domestically.
And with that, we conclude the first round. But wait, don't pick your winner just yet. Let's now move on to the second round.
What steps would you take to avoid excessive costs and logistical challenges of mass deportation?
Mass deportation might seem logistically overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. The key is prioritization. By targeting high-risk individuals, such as those with criminal records or recent unlawful entrants, we can significantly reduce the burden. Technology plays a crucial role here. Investing in data systems and streamlining immigration courts can accelerate the process. Public-private partnerships could reduce costs further, and voluntary repatriation programs may ease enforcement burdens. Over time, the consistent application of deportation policies would deter illegal immigration, leading to fewer cases requiring enforcement.
How do you respond to claims that deportation may fuel hostility and damage international relations?
Deportation is about upholding sovereignty and the rule of law, not hostility. Maintaining clear, fair, and consistent policies communicates that we value lawful immigration and security. International relations can be strengthened, not harmed, by collaborating with source countries. For instance, foreign aid can address poverty or instability that pushes migrants to leave, while bilateral agreements can ensure deported individuals are treated fairly upon return. Transparent enforcement shows we take immigration seriously without compromising humanitarian values. In the end, every nation has the right and responsibility to manage its borders in a way that ensures both security and order.
If deportation doesn't address the root causes of illegal immigration, is it really effective?
Deportation isn't a standalone solution, but it is a critical component of a comprehensive strategy. It deters future illegal crossings by showing there are consequences for breaking the law. However, we also need to tackle root causes like poverty, violence, and a lack of opportunity in migrants' home countries. Investments in border security, employment verification systems, and foreign aid are part of the solution. Deportation enforces the law and prevents the unchecked flow of people, which is vital for national security and social stability.
How do you handle cases where illegal immigrants commit serious crimes?
Serious crimes should always be addressed through the legal system, regardless of someone's immigration status. However, deportation isn't the only solution. Those who commit violent or severe crimes can face justice within our judicial system, ensuring accountability without resorting to blanket policies that harm innocent families. Deportation can sometimes relocate criminal networks without dismantling them, worsening global security. Instead, we should invest in community programs to reduce recidivism and collaborate internationally to prevent the conditions that lead to cross-border criminal activity. It's about fairness and focusing on solutions that work without painting all undocumented individuals with the same brush.
Wouldn't granting leniency incentivize more illegal crossings in the future?
Leniency doesn't mean opening the floodgates. It means addressing the issue humanely and intelligently. Studies show that the majority of migrants come out of necessity, not because they expect leniency. Stronger pathways for legal immigration, coupled with fair enforcement of labor laws, would reduce incentives for illegal crossings. Moreover, leniency doesn't need to be permanent. It can involve probationary periods, work permits, or other forms of conditional status that allow people to contribute to society while adhering to the law. The idea that leniency equals chaos is a fear-driven narrative that ignores the success of compassionate immigration policies in other countries.
What's your alternative for enforcing immigration laws effectively?
Immigration laws must evolve to reflect economic and humanitarian realities. Effective enforcement doesn't mean deporting millions. It means creating pathways for undocumented people to come forward without fear. Programs like DACA, or temporary protected status, show how undocumented immigrants can live and work legally while contributing to the economy. Enhanced border management, fair labor laws, and partnerships with employers to prevent exploitation are part of the solution. Instead of punitive measures, we need policies that balance security with compassion, addressing the issue in ways that strengthen communities rather than tearing them apart.
Now it's up to you. Which side did you find more convincing? Leave a comment and subscribe to not miss out on any future debates. Thank you for watching and enjoy your day.